In a world of infinite digital options, the average man tries to win by being the loudest, the nicest, or the most persistent. He plays by the rules of a game that is quietly rigged against him. And he never stops to ask why. But there is a different breed of man. A man who understands that attraction is not about convincing. It is about positioning. While other men are auditioning for her life, this man is living his own so compellingly that she starts to wonder whether she is qualified for his. Today, we are stripping away the feel-good dating advice. We are going into the Machiavellian mechanics of desire, the psychology of what actually happens in a woman's mind when she has multiple options and has to make a choice. And more importantly, we are going to show you exactly how to become the obvious choice without chasing, yet without performing, and without losing yourself in the process. Stay with me, because what I am about to break down will permanently change how you see attraction. Before we get into it, make sure you are subscribed. Most men will miss the third principle in this video, and that is exactly why they will stay invisible to the women they want. Don't be one of them. Why most men lose before they even start. Here is the brutal truth nobody in your life is telling you. Most men lose a woman's attention not because they were not good enough, but because they made one critical psychological error from the very beginning. They auditioned. Think carefully about that word. When you audition, you are performing for someone else's approval. You are trying to demonstrate your value to someone who has not yet decided if you are worth their time. And here is the problem. Human psychology is wired to assign high value to what is self-assured and scarce, and low value to what is desperately available. This is called the Scarcity Principle, and it governs far more of human decision-making than most people realize. When something is always present, always accessible, always eager, it loses perceived value almost immediately. This is true for products, for opportunities, and yes, for people. When a man makes himself completely available, responds to everything instantly, reshapes his schedule around a woman who has not committed to him, he is advertising low value, even if everything else about him is exceptional. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote that the prince who appears to need others is already weak in their eyes. The prince who others need holds the power. The same psychology governs attraction. The moment she senses that you need her validation to feel good about yourself, the dynamic shifts, and not in your favor. Your first move is not to try harder. It is to stop auditioning entirely. If you are starting to recognize yourself in any of this, drop a power in the comments. Acknowledging the truth is always the first step. The psychology of how she actually chooses. Let us get into the real psychology, because this is where almost all dating content gets it completely wrong. A woman with multiple options is not simply choosing the most attractive man. She is not automatically choosing the richest, the tallest, or the most attentive. She is choosing the man who makes her feel a very specific combination of emotions simultaneously. And that combination is this: safety, challenge, excitement, respect. Let me break each one down because each one matters. Safety does not mean physical protection. It means emotional stability. It means this man knows who he is. His sense of self does not fluctuate based on how she responds to him. When a man's mood, behavior, or attention shifts dramatically depending on whether she texted back, she reads that as instability, as emotional dependency, and dependency is the opposite of safety. Challenge is counterintuitive, and most men never figure this out. Humans consistently place more value on things they had to work for. Psychologists call this the effort justification effect. When something comes too easily, it does not feel earned, and therefore does not feel meaningful. This does not mean playing games. It means having a real life, having standards, and being a man who can genuinely say no. That creates authentic challenge, not manufactured drama. Excitement is neurochemical. Dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, fires strongest in conditions of uncertainty and anticipation, not in guaranteed outcomes. A man who is slightly unpredictable, not inconsistent in his character, but not completely transparent in his every move, triggers more dopamine than a man whose next 3 texts she can already write for him. Respect is the one most men forget. She must respect you before she can truly desire you. Not just like you, respect you. That means you have opinions you stand behind. You do not fold under social pressure. You have boundaries, and you hold them calmly. You treat her well without losing yourself in the process. And here is the Machiavellian insight. Most men offer safety and sacrifice challenge, or they bring excitement and sacrifice respect. The man who holds all 4, even imperfectly, is the man she chooses every single time. Frame control, the invisible force that decides everything. Pay very close attention to this section, because this single concept, frame control, is responsible for more wins and losses in attraction than almost anything else combined. A frame is the underlying context through which an interaction is experienced. Whoever sets the frame controls the dynamic. This is not theory. You can feel it in every conversation you have ever had. Here is a simple example. 2 men want to make plans with the same woman. Man A says, "Hey, are you free this weekend? I was thinking maybe we could hang out." "As if you want." Man B says, "I am doing something interesting on Saturday. You should come." Both men are asking the same thing, but Man A is operating from a frame of seeking permission. Man B is operating from a frame of extending an invitation to something that is already happening, with or without her. Man A's subtext is, "Please say yes to me." Man B's subtext is, "I have a life worth joining." She may not consciously analyze this exchange, but she feels the difference within seconds. This is frame control. And here is the important thing. Frame control is not about arrogance. It is not about coldness or manufactured aloofness. It is about operating from a place of internal certainty. The man who has a clear sense of who he is, what he wants, and where he is going naturally holds a stronger frame, and strong frames are deeply magnetic. But Machiavelli understood that power is not just held, it is projected. A prince who acts as though he is already respected will receive more respect than one who begs for it. 3 ways to build a stronger frame, starting today. First, have a direction. Know what you are working toward. A man with a mission has gravity that a man without one simply cannot manufacture. Second, respond. Do not react. Do not let her mood, her delays, or the fact that she has other options destabilize you emotionally. When you are the stable ground in the dynamic, she will naturally want to stand on it. Third, set the terms of engagement. Do not always be available on her timeline. Extend invitations, hold your plans, move with purpose, and let her feel that you would move with or without her confirmation. The preselection and social proof. The shortcut. Her brain takes here is a principle that Machiavellian thinkers have understood for centuries and that modern psychology has since confirmed. The quickest way to increase the perceived value of anything is to demonstrate that others already want it. This is called pre-selection, and it works because of a simple cognitive shortcut. When a woman has many options to evaluate, Her brain looks for external signals to identify which option is worth her deeper attention. One of the most powerful of those signals is this: other people, especially other women, have already vetted this man. Now, I want to be precise here, because this concept gets twisted online into something manipulative and hollow. You do not need to perform, and you do not need to manufacture fake social proof or pretend you have women lining up. What you need is to genuinely be a man who moves through the world with ease around people, including women. A man who has female friends, female colleagues, sisters, mentors, and who speaks about those relationships naturally, without effort, is communicating that he understands and is comfortable with the feminine. That alone is powerful pre-selection. You also do not need to announce that you are seeing other people. You simply need to carry yourself like a man who could be. That posture, calm, full, unhurried, does more than any announcement ever could. And here is the psychological mechanism underneath all of this. When she senses even the possibility of competition, something shifts in her brain. What felt optional starts to feel urgent. What felt like a casual connection starts to feel like something she does not want to lose. This is the scarcity principle, operating at full power. The contrast principle. Be in a category of one. When a woman has many options, most of those options look and feel identical to her. Different faces, same energy, all of them selling themselves, all of them telling her how funny they are, how successful, how different from other guys, all of them eager, all of them performing. The contrast principle in psychology tells us that when one option stands out meaningfully from the alternatives, it receives disproportionate attention and preference. Your goal is not to be the best version of what every other man is doing. Your goal is to be so distinctly yourself that you stop being one of the options and become the option that feels like nothing else. Here is what that looks like in practice. While every other man is qualifying himself to her, you turn the dynamic around. Not aggressively, but with genuine curiosity. Instead of filling silences with your resume, you ask better questions. Not, what do you do? But, what are you most excited about right now? Not how was your day? But, what was the most unexpected thing that happened to you this week? Better questions signal real interest. Real interest is rare, and rare is exactly where you want to be. When you do share things about yourself, you speak from a place of ownership, not performance. You like what you like. You are building what you are building. You have a point of view and you hold it even when gently challenged. You are warm and you are real, but you are not shapeless. You do not mold yourself into what you think she wants. That distinctness, that sense of a man who is fully formed and moving in a clear direction, creates a psychological reference point in her mind. She stops comparing you to her other options because comparison requires a common category. You have made yourself uncomparable. Machiavelli's principle here is elegant. Do not fight for position among the options. Change the frame so that you exist in a category of one. Loss aversion, the most powerful psychological force in attraction. This is the section I need you to absorb completely, because it explains behavior that confuses most men entirely. That human beings are wired by evolution to fear loss significantly more than they desire equivalent gain. Psychologists call this loss aversion. In experiments, the pain of losing something consistently outweighs the pleasure of gaining something of identical value. This is not rational, but it is deeply human, and it has enormous implications for attraction. Once you have established a genuine connection with a woman, Once you are a real presence in her awareness, the possibility of losing that presence becomes more motivating to her than the possibility of gaining anything new. Her other options, no matter how good on paper, cannot compete with the fear of losing something she already values. This is why the man who is willing to walk away holds more power than the man who will never leave. I want to be careful here because this principle gets misused constantly. Walking away is not a tactic to deploy cynically. It is not a manipulation move you use to punish her for not responding fast enough. Walking away is a reflection of genuine self-respect. If the dynamic becomes disrespectful, if she is consistently inconsistent, if the energy is not being matched, a man with real standards removes himself, not out of anger, not to send a message, but because he genuinely believes his time and attention are worth protecting. And that genuine belief, that quiet confidence in his own value, is precisely what triggers her loss aversion. Because the moment she feels she could actually lose access to a man like this, something shifts. He stops being background noise. He becomes a priority. The men who stay no matter what, who absorb bad behavior and keep showing up, communicate that they have no better alternative. That communication destroys attraction, even when everything else is right. The man who can leave teaches her, without a single word, that he is a man worth keeping. Emotional presence, the weapon nobody talks about. Here is where I need to add something that the darker corners of this conversation almost always leave out, and it is arguably the most powerful tool in this entire video: emotional presence. You can have frame control, you can have genuine scarcity, you can have preselection, contrast, loss aversion, all of it, and still lose. Because underneath all of these psychological dynamics, there is a fundamental human need that a woman is evaluating in every interaction, often without realizing it. Yeah, she needs to feel seen, not complimented, not impressed, seen, genuinely understood by another person who is actually paying attention to her, not to the version of her he has projected in his head. The man who can make a woman feel truly seen, without becoming a pushover, without dissolving his frame, without over-explaining himself, is practically irresistible, because that experience is genuinely rare. This starts with being actually present. When you are with her or talking to her, you are there. You are not running a script in your head. You are not planning your next move. You are listening and then responding to what she actually said, not to what you prepared for. It deepens through the quality of your attention. Some people feel the difference between someone who is waiting for their turn to speak and someone who is genuinely absorbing what they are saying. That difference cannot be faked over time, and it expresses itself in the kind of questions you ask. Questions that go one layer deeper than surface level. Questions that communicate, I am curious about who you actually are, not just what you look like or what you do for work. Machiavelli understood that the most effective leaders were not those who imposed themselves most forcefully, but those who made the people around them feel more significant in their presence. People protect what makes them feel good about themselves. When she consistently feels more interesting, more understood, more alive in your presence, you become associated with that feeling. And people do not let go of what makes them feel that way. This is not manipulation. This is human connection, practiced with intention. And combined with everything else in this video, it is what separates a man who is attractive from a man who is genuinely unforgettable. The foundation that makes all of this work. I need to say something clearly before we close, because without this, everything I have shared today is just a collection of techniques. and techniques without a foundation eventually collapse. That foundation is self-respect, not self-promotion, not performance, not the appearance of confidence, actual, internal, unshakable self-respect. A man who genuinely respects himself does not need to manufacture scarcity. He is naturally selective because he actually values his time. He does not need to perform frame control. He holds a strong frame because he knows who he is. He does not need to use loss aversion as a tactic. He walks away from bad dynamics because he genuinely believes he deserves better. Self-respect means your sense of worth is not determined by whether she texts back. It means you can be warm, generous, and open without being dependent. It means you want a woman who chooses you freely and clearly, not one you confused or pressured or strategically maneuvered into picking you. Because here is the real dark psychology, the insight that ties everything in this video together. The man who does not need to win her over is almost always the man who wins her over. Not because he is playing a game, but because he is real. He has direction. He has standards. He treats her with genuine respect, while never forgetting to extend that same respect to himself. That combination is rarer than you think, and when she encounters it, she recognizes it immediately. She chooses it, not because she was psychologically maneuvered into it, but because it is the most compelling thing she has seen in a very long time. Let us bring it all together. The reason most men lose when a woman has options is not that they are not good enough. It is that they do not understand the psychology of how attraction actually works. They audition when they should be anchored. They chase when they should be compelling. They compete when they should differentiate. The four things she is always evaluating: safety, challenge, excitement, respect, the tools that position you correctly, frame control, genuine scarcity. Preselection, the contrast principle, loss aversion, emotional presence, the foundation that makes all of it real, self-respect, non-negotiable. If this video gave you a real shift in perspective, share it with one man in your life who needs to hear it. Not because he is failing, but because this kind of understanding makes good men exceptional. Like this video, if you want more content at this level, subscribe so you are here when the next one drops. And tell me in the comments, what was the single biggest insight you are taking away from this today? I read every single one. I will see you in the next one.